This is the SG551P, chambered in 5.56-223. Now, what this gun essentially is, what the AR-15 is to us, and here in America, is what this gun is to the Swiss. Essentially, if Rolex were to make a rifle, it would be this particular gun. Now, these guns are imported, and there's a huge fan base for these particular guns. Guys love these things, but people tend to love anything that's kind of hard to get. And these aren't exactly easy to get. Actually, my good friend Dave Wagner here in Dallas, Texas, he imports these exclusively under the John Doe Investigations, which I think is kind of one of the most awesome names ever. The first time I ever saw this gun was about 10 years ago in Houston, and it was at a gun store. And I remember seeing it. It was completely green. And like right now, this particular one has green furniture, but it's actually black. So it's kind of got that two-tone going on for it. But I remember seeing an all green version of the 5.5, I think it was a 5.51 as well. And I remember thinking to myself, that is a beautiful, beautiful silhouette. I love the silhouette of this gun. It's kind of a merger between the AR-15 and the AK-47. And it's not just the looks, even the operating system is kind of the way this gun operates, the way this gun feels is kind of a clash between an AK and an AR-15. Basically, if they two had a baby, would be the result, this kind of bastard child, because the AK-47 is a deadbeat dad and it'll probably run off and not take care of the kid. That's neither here nor there. But for instance, you got things like that make it very AK-ish is one, this foldable stock. You can get the triangle foldable stock on the AKs. You see that more often than you do on AR-15s. Then on top of that, you have the way you actually put your magazine in, where the AR, you come straight in. With this, you just rock it right in. The way you charge this gun, even though on an AR-15 it's more of a push paddle in, this gun is a push paddle up, but it's still very much akin to the AR-15 as well. Also, the magazine release is a paddle style versus the push button that you would have on the AR-15. Not to mention also you have the charging handle. Charging handle is a reciprocating charging handle on the side of the gun that's very much AK-like. One weird thing about reciprocating charging handles, some people love them, some people hate them. Some people like them on certain guns, some people like them on other guns. I don't think this gun, on this particular gun, I actually forget it reciprocates a lot of the time. Other guns you tend to notice more, but on this one, not so much. However, where it is starting to become more like an AR is one, you have the safety selector. Safety selector is this safety switch is very much akin to the AR-15. Then you also have the push pin systems here that actually, in order to disassemble the gun, that is very AR-15-esque. But where it also is like the AK is you have the long stroke piston system. So it's more AK than it is AR, but it is more AR than the AK is AR. Don't really know what I was trying to say, but you understand exactly what I was trying to say. Sue me. Then you have these diopter sights, which honestly, these are probably one of the best iron sights on a rifle I've ever seen. If you look at the rear here, you get these two beads on the back as well. And then you also have this hooded front sight as well. And so to me, this gun is something I always wanted, but it was too expensive. Back in the day when I saw it, it was going for like $6 grand. I think Dave now imports these somewhere in the area of 4,000 to 5,000, just kind of depending on the setup. And not only that, they come imported as pistols. So it doesn't even come with a stock. So you actually have to put the stock on because they come in as pistols. So once you get it in, you can put the stock on it. Now on this particular one, it's not a big deal because it's a 16-inch barrel. So just get it in, put the stock on it, and you're good to go. If you have a shorter barrel, you'll have to do the whole paperwork and SBR and stuff like that. But nonetheless, let's do some shooting. This gun kind of surprises you a little bit. The recoil sensation, when you shoot AK-47s, they kind of have a thud to them a little bit. Especially considering they have the long stroke piston system. And this gun also has a long stroke piston system. But the crazy thing is this gun shoots incredibly soft. I mean, really deceptively soft. It's nuts. Like, good Lord. It just shoots so soft. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with the furniture on this gun. Real quick before you finish watching this video, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Vetter Holsters. All of Vetter's products are made right here in America, and they go out of their way to create affordable holsters without skimping out on quality.
So, thank you very much, Vetter Holsters, for supporting the channel.
It's not very functional. I mean, it's basically just polymer, just kind of polymer grips where there's not much you can do in terms of attachment. Now, you can change these out if you really want to, but this gun kind of lends itself to being very, like, it's one of those guns you just want to keep stock. You don't want to do too much to it. Like, it doesn't even have a rail in order for me to attach a red dot on it. Now, you can add one on there. It's not hard to do, but there's something about keeping this aesthetic and this whole silhouette, just keeping it as sleek and as smooth as possible. And I just really, really like it. This gun was built to be run in the cold. This gun is built to be run in the cold from the standpoint that everything on it kind of has a largeness to it that you don't necessarily get on AR-15s. AR-15s kind of have a microness to them, if that's the right way to say that, but whatever, not here nor there. Like even down to the trigger here. If you look here, this actually trigger guard actually folds out of the way so that if you are using gloves, you can still get to the trigger with no problems. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not gonna hate it because if I don't wanna do that, I just leave it here. It does kind of make the gun a little wonky, but the functional aspect of it, I totally understand. So it doesn't really bother me as far as that's concerned. I gotta say, these sights, these iron sights are awesome. Now I know we don't have a top-mounted rail system, and I'm not gonna say you don't need it because these sights are so great, but these sights are really good. They are really good sights. To the point where I don't necessarily feel automatically like I can live with the gun like this for a little bit and still be just fine. But inevitably, I'm gonna put red dots on the damn thing. I'm gonna put a rail on it and do all that stuff like that just because it's 2022 and we do stuff like that. We stick with the times. Another thing that's really satisfying about this is there's something satisfying about loading a gun that kind of has AR-15-ish style to it, but you rock it in like an AK. There's something incredibly satisfying about that. I don't know, that never gets old. And then also, if I did have another magazine that had these notches on it, I could actually couple these with as many magazines as I want, but I don't have it on this one because I'm not a cool guy like the rest of you guys. One of the most noticeable things about this thing is the trigger. The trigger on this gun is very interesting to say the least. It is a soft, smooth, mushy trigger. I call it the marshmallow trigger, which is essentially what it is, because what it feels like is there is a marshmallow stuck between the back of this grip and the back of this trigger. And you just squeeze your way, and there goes your reset. Like, it's weird because it's not a good trigger. I've heard people talk about this and say, it's a good trigger. It's not a good trigger. It's not a good trigger at all, actually. But it's not a bad one. And here's what I'm getting at. It's really smooth, it's just squishy. So I can still do everything that I want as far as getting to the wall, even though the wall itself is also squishy. And even though this is technically not a good trigger, I like it. I don't know why, it's weird. Like, it wouldn't be my go-to trigger, but even as squishy as it is and as marshmallowy as it is, I would still use this, I would still enjoy shooting this gun with this trigger. Whereas other triggers tend to be more clinical, more mechanical. This one has just kind of a plushness to it, almost like a lazy boy trigger of sorts. But if I want to shoot fast, I can shoot fast with it. If I need to shoot accurately, I can shoot accurately with it. It's just a matter of, it just has a different feel. It's weird. This is one of my favorite aspects of the gun, is this collapsible stock. You can't beat it. Like, this is a 16-inch rifle, collapsible stock. I mean, truth be told, I mean, look at that. That's just, it's beautiful. And you could run it and shoot it just like this as well. It's not something where the stock has to be, the stock doesn't have to be actually extended in order to shoot the gun. So, now, one thing that is a bit of a drawback is that this particular stock, there's no extension. So this is the size, this is it. Now they do make some that do collapse. They don't just fold, they also collapse and extract as well. Now let's talk about the safety. Now, because I have my Hobbit hands and my hands aren't that big, I can't run the safety as quick as I can on the AR-15. I have to kind of break, like I can throw it on pretty quickly, but to actually change it, I have to literally break my grip. So for instance, to actually, like, so like, if I'm gonna come up with an AR, I can just flip down and I can do it here, but I'm literally just catching that bare edge. I think this has more to do with my hand size more than the actual design of the gun. Because if I really try, I can do it. And then on the other side, it's nothing for me to just whip it on up here. But like I said, it's very AR-esque. Now, I talked about how soft this gun recoils. I think a lot of that has to do also with the weight. It is not, it's a deceptively heavy gun, because as I'm shooting it, when you first get it, you're like, oh, this gun feels pretty light. Doesn't feel very heavy at all. As you start to kind of carry it, kind of shoot it, kind of walk and talk and do all that, the weight starts to kind of make itself more present. It's not horrible, but you do notice it. I don't really get the same perception of weight that I do from like an AR-15 of the same barrel length that I do with this gun. But the thing about it is that the fit and finish on this gun is A1. Like, this is a collector's firearm. This is a gun that's designed for people who really like to collect firearms because they're not that easy to get. And when you do find them, they are rather expensive. They're not cheap. I wouldn't call them affordable. You're gonna toke some pennies up. Like I said, anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000. And then but what you are getting also is you're getting a bit of exclusivity, because not many people have these guns. And Dave's not always able to export these guns in to a mass degree where they can just be in mass supply. So if you're not getting them from him directly and you're getting it on the gray market, as I like to call it, then you're actually gonna end up paying more. So just based on the exclusivity and from the simple fact that this gun is actually really good. It's a really good gun. And I don't even know if you can necessarily compare it to the AR-15 completely. I have familiarity with the AR-15, so my go-to gun would be the AR-15, but there are aspects of this gun that I wish I had on it. I wish I had this collapsible stock, right? Because it changes the size of this gun dramatically, right? And it makes it more livable. These iron sights are incredible, but I never really had a problem with the iron sights on AR-15 as well. So it really comes down to either preference or appreciation. I would still go with the AR-15, but I appreciate this gun on such a level that if I had to run this, I'd be just fine.
You know, we talk a lot about empowerment in this country, except for when it comes to the Second Amendment. However, I can't think of anything more empowering than having the most effective tool to protect you and your family. So help me spread this message by liking and sharing this video with everyone you know. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment, because the Second Amendment, when it said militia, it wasn't talking about the government. It was talking about you. Also, if you want to know where to find the I'm the Militia shirt and merchandise, click the I'm the Militia link in the description section of this video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And most importantly, make sure you hit that bell symbol.